Recently, Dr. Phil went on to Piers Morgan's show to discuss his thoughts on the anti-deportation riots we're seeing in LA, especially. Now, he has some good things to say about the situation in the United States, I think, which is why I wanted to talk about this. I used to be a fan of Dr. Phil long ago when his show first came along, but I realized over the years of watching him that he doesn't truly care about the people that he's supposedly helping, or he doesn't truly care about helping people. He cares about his bottom line. He cares about getting money for his show, etc. But on occasion now, I watch him sometimes because he does have some interesting takes a lot of the times on what's happening in the country, on being anti-woke. He's wrong about a lot of things still, but let's check out and see what he has to say here on this video. Before we get started, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Make sure that you're still subscribed. YouTube does unsubscribe people. You can find me on Rumble and on Twitter.
The mainstream media, the legacy media, they're just ignoring the facts here. I don't care how he feels. I barely care how I feel. It's not a matter of opinion. We are a country of laws.
Are you comfortable with the sort of militarization at federal level?
When you've got people that are looting and attacking law enforcement officers, then what are you going to do? Activists are coming in and
sure.
and ginning this up. I don't think that should be happening. I mean, look, this isn't good for America. I mean, what are we, dummies?
Well, US boots are on the ground, not in Kharkiv or Kabul, but in Los Angeles, California. 700 Marines have arrived in LA to join more than 2,000 members of the National Guard in response to anti-deportation protests that have lapsed into rioting and looting. Many of the protests have been peaceful, but many have not. The scenes of burning cars, blocked freeways and looted stores, much of it under the banner of the Mexican flag, played right into the hands of President Trump. He tore into the state leadership in a speech at Fort Bragg to mark the Army's 250th anniversary.
Before going further, I want to say a few words about the situation in Los Angeles, California. Have you heard of the place? Where I've deployed thousands of National Guard troops and hundreds of Marines to protect federal law enforcement from the attacks of a vicious and violent mob. And some of the radical left, they say, oh, that's not nice. Well, if we didn't do it, there wouldn't be a Los Angeles. It'd be burning today, just like the houses were burning a number of months ago.
Well, the California governor, Gavin Newsom, who would quite like to be America's next president, is attempting to block the deployment of troops by court order. The Trump administration said it will arrest anyone who blocks its immigration enforcement, including Newsom, if necessary, to which he gave this appropriately Hollywood response.
He's a tough guy. Why doesn't he do that? He knows where to find me. But you know what? Let your hands off 4-year-old girls that are trying to get educated. Let your hands off these poor people. They're just trying to live their lives, man. Trying to live their lives, paying their taxes. Been here 10 years. The
4-year-old girls, huh? So is Trump actually going after 4-year-old girls? I don't think that he's so much going after 4-year-old girls as he's going after the parents of the 4-year-old girls. And then subsequently, the 4-year-old girls, it's like they have an option. They can stay here under the care of a different person who is not their parent, or they can go back to their home country with their parents. But I mean, Gavin Newsom is anything but honest, right? So,
fear, the horror. The hell is this guy? Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy.
Well, he's going to arrest you if you break the law. Obviously, I mean, you could, if you break federal law, you could be brought up on federal charges. It's that simple. I don't understand how Gavin Newsom is acting like he's, the victim in all of this, when he's the one who's victimizing the people of California. And I know I deal with that. I live in California. I see it every day.
I don't give a damn.
Tough guy. I don't give a damn. The Academy Award for Political Opportunism goes to, you can fill the blank yourself. Well, the current LA riots are nothing like 1992 with the Rodney King riots. They're nothing like BLM following the murder of George Floyd in 2020. And they're nothing like the Capitol riots on January the 6th either. This is a few square blocks of violent disorder in a city of 469 square miles. The chaos began on Friday after the arrest of 40 suspected illegal immigrants in a city of 4 million people. There will be cases of heartbreak and injustice wherever ICE tries to enforce mass deportations. That much is clear. But Trump was elected with a thumping mandate after promising to carry out mass deportations. Almost half of the population of LA is Latino, and California has almost 2 million illegal immigrants. So everybody in politics is getting a little bit of what they want from these ugly scenes. The president
2 million? California only has 2 million illegal immigrants. I think it has more than that, honestly. I've heard numbers as high as 11 million. I think the 11 million is the total number of foreigners living in California, whether they be illegal or not. But I don't think it's 2 million that California has in illegal immigrants. I think maybe LA has that many. But there's a lot of illegals here in California.
The president is the hard man, cracking down on looters and keeping his promises. The governor is the emotional support animal for the little guy, feathering his nest for 2028. The big losers are the people boarding up their businesses and trying to get on with their lives. When a moment I spoke to my expert panel to debate all this, but first I'm joined by Phil Mcgraw, host of Dr. Phil Primetime on Merit TV, who's been in Los Angeles with ICE agents ahead of the immigration race. Dr. Phil, great to have you back on Uncensored. Just give me an overview, Phil, about what is going on in Los Angeles and where your biggest sympathies lie.
Piers, it's good to talk to you again. And once again, I think the mainstream media, the legacy media, they're just ignoring the facts here. They're really wanting to inflame the situation. They're not wanting to inform people about what's really going on.
He says on a mainstream media, a legacy media broadcast, Dr. Phil is legacy media.
And I'm really not sure what the objective is of the mob here. I listened to a lot of the speakers on microphones last night, yesterday, really since this all started, and they're demanding the release of the people that were arrested. Surely they can't expect that to happen. I mean, what would happen if the federal government just said, hey, okay, all right, you guys are upset, so we're going to open the jail and turn all of these people that were arrested, lawfully arrested, we're just going to turn them loose.
Now, Dr. Phil here is pulling another Rollo Tomassi incident here, where when Rollo Tomassi was on his show, Dr. Phil said, my wife absolutely needs me. She's entrepreneurial. She makes money. She does this and that. It's like, Phil, she doesn't need you then. She does all the things herself. She doesn't need you. He's lived in California for how many years? He's from Oklahoma. He lived in Texas, and now he's in California. The thing is, he's lived here for a long time because he's had his TV show for a long time. He's lived here longer than I have. He knows that that's what California does. California just opens the gates to the prison and says, go ahead and walk out. It's fine. It's fine. You'll get a pardon someday. Don't worry about it. Just go ahead and wander out into society and cause trouble for the law-abiding citizens, the innocent people in the world. They've been doing this for decades now. Okay.
And among those they would be turning loose are drug traffickers, those that are accused of domestic violence, one with an indictment for second-degree murder, a 55-year-old illegal alien from the Philippines convicted of burglary, sexual penetration with a foreign object, assault with intent to commit rape, a Mexican national with a rap sheet that includes shooting up a house and a vehicle with people in them, willful cruelty to a child, driving under the influence, an illegal alien from Vietnam with a criminal history that includes conviction for second-degree murder as well. So I'm not sure what they're expecting to happen here. Surrender, to just say, hey, we give up, we surrender. You guys don't like the laws that your elected officials passed, so we'll turn everybody loose. This is a ridiculous position.
It seems to me, looking from afar, I'm in the UK at the moment, that I've got a house in LA, as you know, and spend a lot of time there. It just seems to me that Trump is doing exactly what he said he'd do. He said, I'm going to do mass deportations of people in the country illegally, and he was focusing in the campaign on criminals, so people who committed crimes who are in the country illegally. And I think most Americans I've spoken to have absolutely no problem with people who are in America illegally in the first place, who are then committing crimes and the court committing crimes, of those people being thrown out of the country. There's unanimity about that. It gets more complicated. I mean, Gavin Newsom talked there about a 4-year-old.
No, there's not unanimity about that, actually, Piers. Thing is, there's a lot of people that think that these people have committed crimes because they had no choice, because they weren't given a fair chance here in the United States, they weren't given a fair chance in their home country, et cetera, et cetera. They can come up with all sorts of excuses as to why these people are committing crimes, and they shouldn't be punished for those crimes.
Girl, and that's one of the stories you get, where you get people who, by association, perhaps to illegal people who commit crimes, they get thrown out too, or they're there illegally, but they haven't committed crimes while they've been in the United States, and they built, maybe as Newsom said, a 10-year life, and they paid taxes and so on. And then you have the dreamers, obviously, who were born in the United States to illegal immigrants and so on. It's complicated, this.
Okay, Piers does not know what a dreamer is. A dreamer is a child an adult, basically, who was brought here as a young child. They had no choice in the matter. Their parents brought them here when they were too young to resist. That's what a dreamer is.
What is your view generally about who should stay and who should go?
Well, listen, it really I listened to Gavin Newsom speak about that, and I have several thoughts about what he had to say. First off, I don't care how he feels. I barely care how I feel about this. It's not a matter of opinion. We are a country of laws, and laws are not suggestions. They're not guidelines. They're not optional. They're not Monday, Wednesday, Friday, one week, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, the next week. These are laws, and they were passed by Congress. And the people in Congress were elected by those people in Los Angeles. They have representatives in Congress that pass these laws. And once those laws are passed, are they not to be enforced universally across the board? They're not. They're not optional. And the people they're attacking had nothing to do with it. These ICE agents. Do you think anybody asked a single ICE agent, "What's your opinion of the law?" They're hurling rocks at the heads of these ICE agents. And so they're going after them. They had nothing to do with this.
But again,
They're
Phil, what I would say to
enforcing
that,
their job.
just to jump in, what I would say to that is, I've watched those scenes and they're utterly horrific. And the people doing that, they're trying to kill people, right? So I would absolutely charge them with attempted murder. You throw a rock at a passing car and smash the windows, you're trying to kill that person, in my estimation. I don't think anyone's got any problem with people doing that. If they're there illegally, then throw them out of the country. But what about the people who are not criminals, whose only crime, and it is a crime because if you enter the country illegally, you have entered the country illegally. You've broken the law. But do you think it's enough if that is your only crime, i.e. you're there illegally to start with, if you built a life, you have a family, so on, is that enough to be seized off the streets by ICE and deported, in your opinion?
In my opinion, that's the law. And listen, Thomas Sowell was speaking, someone that I admire greatly was speaking about this just a few days ago. I listened to him talk about this, and he said it very well. He said, nobody questions the humanity of most of the people that have crossed the border, even illegally, that there are some good people there, some family people there. The Hispanic population is, by and large, their culture is very family oriented. So no one is questioning the humanity of those people, even if they cross the border, but that doesn't make them immune from the law. If you are here illegally, Tom Homan has said it very clearly, there's an app that you can go to that says, look, self-deport, take yourself out of the country if you're here illegally. They give, if you register there, they give.
Exactly. So human beings are human beings are human beings everywhere we go, right? You got some good, you got some bad. Most people are just kind of good, right? Nobody's saying that they're not human. What we're saying is, and nobody's saying that, oh, this is racism either. Nobody who wants these people deported is because of race. It's not because of race. That's just an easy indicator. We can look at it and go, that person looks like they're from a different country. I don't want them in my country. It's not about that. It's about, hey, look, you're here illegally. If I were in any other country illegally and they found me and said, hey, you don't have proper documentation to live here, the very least they're going to do is ship me back. And that's all we're doing. It's such a horrible thing. We're shipping them back to their home country.
Give you time to get your affairs in order here. They give you a plane ticket to fly you back to where you came from when you entered the country illegally. They even give you $1,000 when you get on the ground back where you came from to help you get your feet under you there. But if you stay here and you are arrested, they have to find you, arrest you, process you, and send you out. You face bars. It can be 5 years, it can be 20 years, it can be forever to come back into this country if they have to find you, arrest you, process you, and deport you. So the whole reason of being so transparent about this process is to let people know if you're here illegally, you need to take measures to remove yourself so you can then file for a visa and come back in here legally. So I think if you're here illegally, you're here illegally. Now, if you don't like that policy, if you don't like that law, then change it. These people shouldn't be protesting on the highways in South LA. They should be going to the Capitol in DC and protesting to the legislature to change the immigration laws.
Yeah, but they're not smart enough to figure that out. They're not smart enough to understand this reasoned argument, Dr. Phil. And they want to cause trouble. They want to cause a problem. They want to be a problem. They want to get their voices seen as an individual, more of as an individual than as a group. Because that's what they think is important, the individual, which it is. I'm not saying it's not. But the collective is going to get you much more traction than one individual standing up and saying, I burnt this car down, see how awesome I am? Even when you have a group of people doing this in South LA, it's still, you see individuals standing up and being pulled out of the crowd more than anything. So,
but there are estimates that the number of illegal immigrants in the United States, a country, of course, founded on immigration, there could be as many as 30.
The country was not founded on immigration. This is this tired old argument that, oh, the United States is a country of immigrants, that everybody who came here is an immigrant. No. When you immigrate to a country, that country has to exist first. So yes, there were settlers and colonizers who came here before this was a country, and they founded the country. There were people whose families had been here for generations when the country was founded, right? 1776. Well, when did Columbus, 1492, discover the Caribbean? 1492 to 1776, that's almost 300 years. There's people that were living here from Europe, that had settled here, that were colonizing here, that they built cities here before this was a country. So
50, maybe 80 million people in the country illegally. No one's really quite sure, but it's tens of millions, whichever figure you want to buy into. Would you be happy, Phil, given that a lot of those people have settled in the United States for many years, had kids maybe in the United States, got a job, paid taxes, contributed to society, maybe doing a lot of menial work that is very important to keeping America running. Would you be happy if literally all of them were deported as a matter of principle?
I think we would be in a serious crisis if everyone left this country. And I think we need to address that. I think we need to address that in the legislature. I mean, clearly, this is a country of immigrants, some legal, some illegal. And if we have dysfunctional immigration laws, then we need to call an immediate session of Congress, address this, and find a way to get visas for these people, work visas, whatever kind of visas, or get the immigration courts unstopped. They're stopped up right now. Get that blockage out of the way so you can actually process people. But the reason they're stopped up for 7, 8, 9 more years is because all the people that have filed for asylum when they didn't have a good case for asylum. And when they get there and it's denied in the vast majority of cases, then they're given an order to leave and they don't. So they overstay, but they clog the courts up so people that have legitimate reasons don't ever get a chance to have their day in court.
So he said it's a crisis, right? Bring it on, I say. Bring it on. Ship them all back. Bring it on. You don't have a green card or citizenship? Bye. If you have a green card and you're breaking the law, bye. I say bring on the crisis. We're going to have a crisis here soon anyway, the way the economics are going in this country. See, especially in my industry. Nobody's making animation anymore. So helping students get a degree in an industry that's going away. And then there's the fear that the AI is going to take over anyway and make these movies. So yeah, things are going to collapse as it is. So I say just let's cut our losses, go for broke, and we will be better off in the long run. In addition, I said knowing full well that American women are not great. I mean, there were 2 songs, the same song, but it's done twice, American Women, by the Guess Who and then by Lenny Kravitz. In Canada, the Guess Who's from Canada. That's how bad, and that's how much better, I guess, foreign women are compared to American women. But if we're gonna have a country, let's have a freaking country.
I don't think our immigration laws are functional, but those are the laws right now, Pierce. And what do? These laws aren't optional. They're not suggestions. How do you decide that you're going to enforce it for this person, but not that
Well, I
person?
think that's the big question, isn't it? I mean, I that's why I think, funny enough, if Donald Trump, through his team, including Tom Homan, I think it's a very impressive operator, actually, but if they had made it clear that the first raft of deportations were going to be exclusively restricted to people who were in the country illegally who had committed crimes, I think they would have had universal support from everybody. I think it's the fact that so many are being deported at such a rate that inevitably certain people are falling through the cracks here who have not committed any crimes, who may have built a life for themselves in the US, living the American dream in many ways, right? Albeit coming in illegally. I think people feel more uncomfortable about people like that being deported than they would if they were actually people committing crimes.
Well, let me tell you what's happened here, because I've been fairly close to this, as you know, and they had 3 primary objectives. One was to close the border, and I think that's been effectively done.
Yes.
I mean, the illegal crossings.
Amazingly successful, yeah. And Trump isn't getting nearly enough credit for that.
And number 2 was the worst first. Let's get the violent criminals out of here. The TDA, Trinidad, let's get them out of here. MS-13, let's get the gang members, those that are, and typically they start out by victimizing their countrymen. That's where they go first because they've got the bluff in on them. And so they start victimizing their own countrymen. And then third is find the missing children. There are a minimum of 300,000 missing children. Now, some of them have found their way to family and they're safe, but an unsettling number are being sex trafficked or they're into forced labor, and they need to be found, helped, given services, medical, psychological, sociological, and reunited with their families.
Well, see, that's the problem with some of these missing kids is what you said right there. You're not going to find them. I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of human trafficking. I'm glad I don't, because I don't want to know the details of it, what goes on. I'm sure it's horrifying. I think we can all agree that we wouldn't want that to happen to us. But I don't think you're going to find them because there's so many of them so many kids over the decades and decades have just disappeared, and we don't know where they're at. And you know that they were put into some sort of trafficking ring, and they're in some other country, and they never see the light of day, and they're probably violated to death. I don't want to think about that sort of stuff, but that's just the reality. Heartbreaking.
So those are the three prime directives. But here's what's happening. In sanctuary cities where they refuse to cooperate with ICE, where one agent can go in and arrest one detainee that's in jail, they instead have to do a complete operation to arrest this person on the streets. And when they go in, say, to an apartment where maybe there are 8 or 10 people living, they're going to check who they're with. And if those people are simply here illegally but haven't committed a crime, they're not going to say, oh, well, we'll overlook that. You're here illegally. By law, they have to detain them and take them in for deportation. They're creating that.
Exactly. And this is what I brought up earlier with the 4-year-old girl comment. It's like, you're going to go find a group of people. Well, hey, I happen to find you. You're illegal. You're illegal. You're illegal. It's not like they even necessarily have to go out and search for each one of these individual people. You're dealing with 80 million people, which I wouldn't be surprised if it was 80 million people in the country that were illegal, but it's probably a lot less than that. It's probably more like 40 million. And still, that's more than 10% of the population. It's a lot of people. You're going to find people incidentally. And so if you're going to live your life and nobody's checking your ID, yeah, you're going to get away with it. But as soon as somebody goes, oh, well, you were breaking the law, so I pulled you over for speeding or for running a red light or something, or reckless driving, and you don't have proper documentation, guess what? You're going back home. And that is, in my opinion, entirely too kind of us. Entirely too kind of the United States.
Which they fear the most. They're forcing the agents into the community to deal with people that maybe aren't violent criminals. So they're creating that which they fear the most. And look, the mainstream media is not reporting the facts. What happened in LA and what happens in most of these situations are interagency situations. In LA, this was a multi-agency situation. There was a search warrant issued by a federal judge against a company that is alleged to have undervalued imports, some counterfeit, by $80 million. They had underpaid their tariffs by an estimated $17 million. Half of their workforce were illegal immigrants. And so when they go in to serve this search warrant on this alleged criminal enterprise, these illegal aliens get caught up, these illegal immigrants get caught up in that sweep of this criminal enterprise. So they get arrested. Nobody's reporting the fact that this was a interagency operation. And not every agency was involved, but U.S. Marshals were there, FBI was there, ATF was there, ICE was there. There were all these different agencies there, and they weren't all involved with this particular search warrant, but a federal judge issued this search warrant after reviewing evidence that said there's probable cause. Why isn't anybody talking about that?
But do you feel comfortable, as it escalated, about the National Guard coming in and Marines being put on standby? Are you comfortable with the sort of militarization of the way this has been dealt with at federal level?
The federals aren't out there to run an operation over peaceful protest. They're out there because Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass have not done their job, and they aren't controlling the streets. When you've got people that are looting and attacking law enforcement officers, and you've got the governor and the mayor of Los Angeles who are not doing what they swore to do, which was uphold the Constitution and enforce the laws of the land, then what are you going to do? Now they do need somebody to come in and bolster efforts to get this under control. I don't think they should allow people to turn this into 1992. I don't think they should allow, this city has had enough hell. You have a home there, I have a home there. We should not let these fringe groups, and I don't think these are all spontaneous. I do think activists are coming in and ginning this up. I don't think that should be happening. I mean, look, this isn't good for America. I mean, what are we, dummies? They're hoping that they will burn this city to the ground. They're hoping they will sow discord. This isn't pro-America. We've got people that are pushing this that hope that this deteriorates the city and tears it down. That's not pro-America. We need to wake up and smell the coffee here.
Yeah.
All right. So from this point, Piers Morgan asked Dr. Phil to talk about the Elon Musk Donald Trump situation, which he puts his 2 cents in, and it's not that interesting. After that, Pierce talks to these 3 yahoos here who have things to say about California. It's not as interesting as what Dr. Phil had to say, and some of it is reiterating of what Dr. Phil had to say. You can check this out. You can find that there are two people here on this panel that are definitely unintelligent, and one person who does have some reasonable things to say. I will leave a link to this down in the comments below. Again, thank you for watching, especially if you made it through the video, and I will see you all in the next one.